Hi all, my name is Mike Petik. I'm a senior ILS IPS consultant and trainer with Pennant Canada. I've been with Pennant since 2003 after a career with the Canadian Armed Forces as an optoelectrical technician and eventually joined the team and got into the wonderful world of ILS. So I've got quite a vast experience in ILS as well as product support analysis. As someone with a keen interest in IPS and specifically product support analysis, I'd like to go over a particular game-changing feature of GenS that we have implemented and is available to our clients. One of the problem spaces that I'd like to address is the creation of data requirements. Specifically, when we're talking about standards, this can be quite the daunting task over a period of time. Taking numerous months to create, as well as the continuous iterations that are involved in creating your data requirements, this can be an extremely daunting and a long-winded task. Having to negotiate with the contractor and back to the customer with a back and forth type scenario, this can take months and even years to come up with a specific type of requirement document that's contractually binding. So GenS tries to address this by giving the enough detail within the product that you're able to create these special configurations. GenS provides a very comprehensive mechanism in order to create your requirements for a specific data standard. As a matter of fact, most of the data standards are covered that we know within IPS, from 0007 to 5692 to the DEF stands out of the UK, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an extremely powerful tool. The section within GenS that does this is called Element Manager, and it sets up a configuration for a particular standard and allows you to select your data elements accordingly. There are many key features to the Element Manager, but I'm going to discuss the most important ones. The first key feature is tailoring selections. You're able to call up a specific data standard and from there select specific elements that pertain to your particular program by toggling elements on and off. One of the other great features is the ability to look at list of values for specific elements and select the options that are appropriate to you. Things like currencies, where you could have a list of 1,000 currencies, but you only want to see 4 or 5 visible to the contractor, i.e. narrow in the selection, pick the options that you require for your particular program. This is an extremely powerful part of the GenS Element Manager application. As your configuration becomes fully developed, a lot of times there's a fair bit of ambiguity and or a lack of understanding of what that element is all about or what the actual intent of that element is according to what the customer wants. So what comes into play is another feature of the application is being able to add guidance to your particular element. So the guidance could be directed from a Department of Defense. It could be directed internally from your organization. This allows you to help the new user look at the particular data element and figure out exactly what the intent of it is. Guidance is another important part, but there's also direction. You're able to specify a particular direction. This is useful to the customer who wants to provide specific instruction for that data element. So you can actually specify that in direction, and that can be contractually binding at the end of the day. So this is an extremely important feature. Another key feature is the ability to control the configurations within the GenS Element Manager. You can have many configurations built in, depending on the scope, depth, and breadth of your organization. one of the key features is the ability to save that configuration and apply it to multiple projects within your organization. After the selection, tailoring, and guidance process is done, you can save your configuration in multiple ways. First, you can save it right into the GenS database so that it's always there for you. You can call it up at any time and apply it to a particular project or program. You can output your information in an MS Excel workbook, which will show you all the specific selections that you have made for transport and collaboration amongst team members and or clients and customers, if you will. The next feature I'd like to talk about is transportability. Now, bouncing spreadsheets back and forth between customers and uh, their particular contractors, trying to uh, hone in on exactly what all the requirements are, bouncing back and forth, negotiating, et cetera, can be quite cumbersome and really not well controlled. GenS Element Manager gives you the ability to export that file in what we call a configuration file. So this special configuration file, which is built in XML, allows you to transport that particular config file to a organization, uh, to a customer, to folks within your own working environment to employ within their own GenS. So you can see the utility of this in terms of those that are using GenS to be able to transport those requirements back and forth very quickly. So this is a huge, huge, huge benefit to using the product. A huge benefit to the Element Manager application is the fact that you can now get real-time guidance and direction within the GenS client itself. So when new users and or current users are building their LSARs, they will get real-time information on a particular element guidance and direction, as well as any definitions for that particular data element. This is extremely useful. The other part is the only thing visible that you're going to see on any of the screens in terms of elements are those that have been selected in the Element Manager configuration file. So this allows you to get rid of all the spurious information. If you look typically at a standard like 0007 Bravo, it has 1,535 data elements, give or take. Now, if you can tone that down to say 500, because if it's a Navy program, you don't need the Air Force specific information. So, you've got 500 or so data elements. That's all you're going to see through the rest of the product is those 500 products or 500 elements. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose information if so delivered in an LSAR. It just means for the user of the application, this is what's going to be visible to them. Of course, within the configuration of Element Manager, you can update it, i.e. add another element that was missed, or you've negotiated a new element in play, then that can be brought into the configuration as well. The last thing that I'm going to speak about is the ability within Element Manager itself to add user-defined fields. Now, if you look at some of the programs out there, they're basically built in phases. You'll have a preliminary design review, a critical design review, a final design review, and then other possible phases as well within the program, i.e. going into a provisioning process, this type of thing. And along the way, the LSAR is going to build up and or the requirements change through these processes and or phases. So what you're able to do is add those user-defined fields within your configuration, allowing you to control and manage your configs by phase and allowing you to assess that information through the different phases. So this is very useful for the customer at the other end of the delivery, looking at the information and being able to compare it to the actual data requirement for that particular phase. To sum it up, basically, GenS Element Manager brings together all players within the scope of the ILS world for product support analysis data requirements. It allows for extensive collaboration, ease of transportability, and rest assured allows customers to get exactly what they're asking for in any given moment in time. They can go back, make modifications as over time their program matures.